welcome back to Inspector Toolbelt Talk, everyone. Today is a bit of an odd podcast for me. This has been requested many times, and over the past 5 or 6 years, I've kind of avoided this podcast just because it's not in my nature. But I get asked so often that I decided to do it. And it's basically questions and answers. Some of them oddly personal, some of them, a little bit broader. But we went through and had AI help us compile the main questions that people have asked via email, messages, or feedback from Spotify or anywhere like YouTube. And these are the main questions that we kept running into multiple times. So we're going to go through them one at a time, and whether or not they make sense, here we go. So the first one is one that I personally get asked quite a bit. What is the one bit of advice for someone to get success? First of all, I want to say that success is very subjective. We often look at people and say objectively they're successful. We look at the money they make, we look at their family, we look at their job, we look at places they go and things that they do. Success is very, very relative. Success for me, success for you, success for somebody else is going to be very different. But if you are talking about strictly business success, I guess objectively speaking, you could say that I'm successful at that to an extent. I have successful businesses, ones that are profitable. And the advice I'm going to give you is get yourself some childhood trauma. And I mean that with all sincerity. If you look at the statistics, there are estimates that up to 70% or more of successful business people have what they call trauma-driven success. So there's this, actually, I know a couple of guys that are, I don't know if they call them psychiatrists or psychoanalyzers. One works at a prison, one has a private practice. And I mentioned this to them just in conversation, and they both laugh because they know it's a real thing. The one guy especially works with business people, because a healthy, mentally healthy, happy person does not keep reaching for more, doing more, bending over backwards until 3 a.m. to make something work. So get yourself some trauma. Insecurity will do a lot for you. I still remember talking to Nick Gromyko, and I don't remember if it was an interview or some sort of forum, and he talked about that. He said he was too insecure to not be successful. And that stuck with me, because that is the truth of a lot of successful business people, is we get our validation from, okay, this works. And that's why a lot of business people don't even care about the money. Have you ever noticed that? Like, there would be businesses now that are unprofitable, but the business owner is just all about making it successful in different ways. Get yourself some trauma. But listen, if you're happy and your business is not quote unquote successful, you're a success. Just be happy with whatever success that you have. So one bit of business advice for anyone to gain business success: lean into the trauma. It won't lead you to happiness, but it'll get the job done. If you really want to be happy, make it less performative and find happiness within yourself. Boy, that got mushy quick, didn't it? All right. Well, anyways, this one was a funny one. Is that guitar in your background for decoration or for playing? So if you watch our podcast on YouTube, actually our biggest listenership is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But if you watch on YouTube, you'll notice I have a guitar in my background as of recently. So to answer that question, both. I've had that guitar since I was 16 years old. So going on 30 years now. That guitar has been with me all over through many stages of life, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's probably the one possession that I have kept through most of my entire life. And it has a lot of meaning to me. Its name is El Scorcho, in case you guys ever wanted to know. And if you want to know anything about me, if you know that song, we should jam sometime, because that is My guitar is named that for a very specific reason, and there's a little Easter egg if you want it. Also, unasked question: the picture off to my left or your right on the opposite side of the guitar, however you're looking at it, is a picture of the Ron Swanson Pyramid of Greatness. Just in case you were wondering. All right. Third question: what would you do if you were just starting out today in the home inspection industry? So, what I would do 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago is very different than what I would do right now. What I did was appropriate for the time. What I would do now is multifolded. So, first of all, I would spend more time on my brand now than I did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you pop out a logo and you look halfway professional and you beat all your competition. The inspection industry is getting better in that way. More people have a tight brand, and even if they're not always overly professional, the brand looks professional, and I would just get that tight. I would make sure I spend a little extra, get my logo, my business cards, and as much as I hate print, I would still do brochures, and I would just pass those out like candy and get my brand known. Number two, what I would do is I would spend every morning and every evening an hour each on Reddit. I would make sure that I have my website. Let me back up a little bit. Make sure I have my website and my SEO looking fantastic, because that is overly important right now. Just a little side note. We have been watching the metrics over the past 6 months, and it is not only double what it typically is this time of year, it's double what it is in the high season for search volume. And it is crazy for like 80% of our clients, 50 to 100%, so double almost. So I'd have that extra tight right now. I'd be just doing every bit of SEO and AEO that I could. And then I spend an hour every morning on Reddit and an hour every evening on Reddit. Reddit is what Google uses more often than not now, and AI, it is one of the biggest SEO and AEO indicators. Sorry. I mean, Facebook is still important. Google business page posting on it is important. But I would spend time commenting on everything home inspection and real estate related without advertising, and just drop in sprinkles of it once in a while. I'm a home inspector, and here's what I would say. If you have any questions, here's my website. Very, very discreetly. That's how I would start things off. And then I would still go out and shake hands and kiss babies, so to speak. I don't care if agents are at the office or not. We've talked about that before. I'd be visiting every office. I'd still drop off the old school candy and brochures, and I would work that for 2-3 hours a day. I'd take agents out to lunch and coffee, and I would just flood my market with me. We had that podcast at the end of last season called Ubiquity is King. I would make it so that you would see me everywhere. Every local real estate forum I would join, every local Reddit subreddit I would join. I would make sure that I would show up for every search possible. I'd write a blog article and an FAQ about every possible question anybody in my area would have. I would letter up my vehicle and I'd drive it around everywhere. I'd want everybody to see it. That's how I'd start off. Is it a magical formula? Kind of, actually. Yeah, it works. But I would do that for 6 months, and then I'd go back and evaluate which ones were working for my particular territory. And then I do it for another 6 months. I would not evaluate the effectiveness of it until a year, because you have an 8 to 9 month return rate on that. So that's what I would do if I was starting out today. And that would be the basis of it. This one, I don't know how to take. Are you bald? Yeah, no, but I don't see why that would matter if I was. This was a funny one. And there were follow-up questions. No, I'm not bald. Okay, you sound bald. I mean, I have all my hair. I'm pretty happy about it, to be honest with you. Genetically speaking, I'm pretty thrilled with that. So I guess there you go. That one was awesome. All right. What kind of guest are you looking for these days for the podcast? I am looking for anyone with information to share. We have had so many amazing guests. All of our guests have just been amazing. Guys that have just beautiful information that they have spent their career earning, bleeding for, and they come on here and they share it. And so many people have benefited from it. We get so many emails and text messages, and even people who come on as guests on the show to talk about, hey, I followed everything in the show that you and your guests have talked about, and I did it, and now I'm successful. Awesome. That's what we love. So if you have a specific type of inspection that you do, if you have a specific marketing or method or something that you do, or anything else, any kind of thought on the industry, where it's headed, let me know. Throw out an idea, and we'd love to have you on. What we don't like is advertising. You know, we have podcasts where people have a service, but we talk about the service. If your service is good, it advertises itself. And we don't want anything that's overly generic, because we've all heard the podcasts that are 15 episodes of the same thing of the best way to do an inspection. You know, make it niche. I do want to go back. What would you do if you were just starting out today? There's one thing that I have mentioned, and we had it on last season with Carrie Cheek, and I mentioned it again this season. I would 100% start teaching continuing ed. I would do it for free. I would pay to do it. And I would just week after week, month after month, teach continuing ed. And I don't care the subject. I would learn it. I'd be a master of it. Continuing education is, first of all, required for agents, and they're always looking for new subjects. And second of all, holy cow, you have a captive audience. But if you're even halfway of a decent speaker, or even not, it doesn't matter. You're going to get to interact with those agents on a level that you wouldn't, and for hours at a time. This one made me feel weird inside. Do you like getting fun stuff in the mail? No. Do you like getting fun stuff in the mail? I don't even know how to answer that. We're just going to let that one sit there and let you guys dwell on that for a little bit and imagine what my inbox looks like. Do you still inspect? I do not personally anymore. Once in a while, I'll pop on a commercial inspection. I'll help a guy out. I do keep up on my inspection knowledge very deeply because I'm a huge nerd. I review reports almost every day. I mean, today, probably 3-4 reports alone. So while I don't inspect, I keep up on it. But no, I'm not in the field anymore. Stopped going out in the field a while ago. Do I miss it? Oh, yeah. I love inspecting. I really, really do. I do miss it. But, maybe one day. The next question, do you take on any businesses for coaching? Now, if you ask my team, I probably get asked this several times a month or more, sometimes several times a week. And right now I don't. And I've been asked this for years. You want some advice? I'm always giving free advice. Coaching, we've had Mark Hummel on a couple of times, and he'll be on an upcoming podcast. And we've talked to them about, coaching and things like that. So you never know. Maybe in the future, we'll see what happens. But currently, I like to help guys. I like to help them. When I say guys, I do mean men and women, for all the women listening. I like to help people. So if you need advice, let us know. And everything is on this podcast that we try to put out there. This one is something I oddly get asked a lot because I am not a financial advisor, but it says, what is some financial advice you would give? So I am not a financial advisor, and I'm not going to give advice. And there's my legal disclaimer. If I were going to give my old self advice, here is what I would tell me to do. Number one, start investing now. Now, when we talk about investing, we think of, Wall Street movies and things like that. And that's just not what investing is. Investing is slow and not sexy. it is slowly building up funds. And I would tell myself to do it no matter what financial level I was at. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. So, my favorite thing to do is to use one of these robo advisors. There's a million of them. You can use Vanguard, you can use Betterment, you can use, I don't think Robinhood has robo advising or large index funds. Maybe they do. But there's a million and one of them out there. Pick the one you like. And my favorite is to do a 90-10 split, they call it. So 90% stocks, 10% bonds. This is high risk and high reward. It'll give you an average over the lifespan of the entire stock market. It has an average of 9.5 to 10.5 compounding interest return. You're going to have times where, you're up 28%, and then you're going to have times where you're down 28%. Don't watch it. Don't worry about it. Even if you had, just before the Great Recession, invested at the very peak, just before it dropped and bottomed out, right now you would still be ahead of inflation. Money sitting in a bank account is just devaluing. Money just devalues over time. It's fiat currency. It's going to go to zero eventually, whether it's in 3 generations or 10 generations or whatever. Our generation, who knows? But fiat currency just devalues. So instead of money devaluing, do what I would tell myself is to do these two things. So first of all, that index fund with the 90-10 split, put it in there and don't think about it. So imagine if you started off with $5,000 in that account and monthly you put in $100. So over the course of 10 years, that would turn into $34,000. What you put in was not $34,000. You would have $34,000 in 10 years by putting in just $100 a month. So let's be honest. $100 a month is like taking you and your kids to Chili's for dinner. Can we stay home 1 week and put that $100 a month in? Now, over 20 years is going to be a much different amount. So let me just do the math. Rate of return, we're going to say 10%. And over the course of 20 years, you're going to have $112,000. That's pretty sweet. So no matter who we are, investing at any amount, even if it's $10 a week, I mean, come on, we'll find $10 in our pocket washing our clothes. Invest a little bit. Put it in there and don't watch it. Don't touch it. You want to put it in, I would put it in a taxable account if it was me, but I would tell myself, don't watch it, don't touch it, just wait. Now, those numbers may not seem like blow your mind, but imagine if you start putting $1,000 in a month. Either way, it's going to build up over time. The second thing I would do is not keep money in a regular checking account. I did that for so many years and just wasted money. So I still have a checking account, obviously, and it's transactional. It's how I pay employees. It's how I buy certain things and pay the credit card off, things like that. But I keep most of our transactional money in a high interest account. So most high interest accounts right now are going to get you about 3.75%, which at least keeps up with inflation. So let's say you have $30,000 a month of operational funds. You have, I don't know, 1 or 2 employees, maybe, I don't know. Keep what you need for the week in there and keep the rest of it in a high interest account. Then it's going to earn interest. At the end of the year, you'll find that you'll have a few $1,000s of extra funds kicking around. Let's say at the end of the year, you end up with $4,000. That's like 8 inspections. That's like almost a full week for one of our employees that we just made from just interest on our account. So that's the financial advice I would give myself. I'm not a financial advisor. Talk to a financial advisor. I wished I had done those things sooner. Now I have a investment portfolio. My brother's a CPA. One of my best friends in the world is an accountant too, and they help me do those things because otherwise I'd have all my money under a mattress. But I took their advice. Talk to a financial advisor. Make small steps now and allow them to grow over time. But I thought that was an odd question to ask me. Maybe because it's like asking the financially dumb guy what to do with the money, because I at least have the most recent information because I had to ask somebody about it. But again, this was an odd podcast for me. But hopefully this answered your questions. And if you have any more, send them in. Maybe we'll do one later on in a year or two. But thank you for listening in to Inspector Toolbelt Talk, and we'll see you in the next episode.